Welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast, brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app, the official sports betting partner of the National Football League. I am Johnny Venerable, joined as always in studio, Bo Brock, number 81, Frank Sanders. And gentlemen, we get to put our GM hats on here on an off-season, preseason Tuesday, because there's a linebacker that I'm eyeing, that Cardinal fans are eyeing, that may be on the way out potentially of the Windy City. I'm talking about, of course, Roquan Smith, who Bo Brock formally announced a trade request from the Chicago Bears earlier this morning.
Yeah, taking to social media and saying, I hate to say it, but I'm paraphrasing, I want out. I don't want to be a part of this rebuilding process. We were talking about the wrong damn Bears linebacker most of this offseason. Robert Quinn, we want Robert Quinn. We've been pounding the table for him, Frank. But Roquan Smith, the guy who plays more inside than Quinn, who's a pass rusher, he wants out. You got a player the caliber of Smith. You think the Cardinals need to make a play for him?
You know what? I think that it would be – here's my concern. Is that you have a guy in a rebuild situation with a young quarterback that's similar. In some areas, new head coach comes in and he's looking at these guys like, man, this is not going to get it done. My only concern is that will he come here and feel the same way? Will he feel the same way about the team? But I do know one thing: he'll have J.J. Watt, he'll have Budda Baker, he'll have J.T., he'll have Isaiah, young up and coming stud himself. If he feels like he's the answer on our defense, then I think he should make that decision, because our offense is definitely loaded and ready to go.
Keim has been chasing that white whale inside linebacker since he became general manager in 2013. That's the only reason I'm entertaining this. And for those who need caught up, this was the content, the comments that came directly from Roquan Smith. It's not hearsay. It's not speculatory. It's not a Kevin Durant scenario. He has come out and put this statement out for those of you who are on the show in the YouTube. You can see it to the city of Chicago, all Bears fans worldwide. I'm not going to really read this whole thing, but I've officially requested a trade. This is painful. I grew up in Georgia, bear down. I mean, he's very pro-Bears in the statement, Bo Brock, walking these hallways the past 4 years. I can feel the spirit, feel the pressure to live up. And he wants to make it work based on these comments. I wanted to be a Bear my entire career, bring a Super Bowl to our city. However, quote, this is the money line right here, the money quote: they have left me no choice than request a trade that allows me to play for an organization that truly values what I bring to the table. And Bo Brock, that has direct ties to Ian Rappaport reporting in front of the program that the contract that was offered to Roquan Smith was basically disrespectful, laughable, would have set the linebacker market back in, guarantees, and not in a good way. If you're, Deshaun Watson, other quarterbacks get paid. It was a joke contract that the Bears offered. And you think about the Chicago Bears right now have some of the most available cap space of any NFL franchise. For them to lowball Roquan Smith, Bo Brock tells me they are not seriously entertaining paying him, which means I believe he is up for grabs, and that if the Cardinals want to, are so inclined, I believe they can put together a package and bring him to Arizona.
I mean, it's not considered what you would say a premium position, right? One that you really want to, spend a whole high draft capital. We know that Steve Keim's done that already, and not have to pay a ton of bucks before they hit the free agent market. So yeah, you are going to have to pull off the trade. You're going to have to give up probably some young players and some draft assets to get him. And then on top of that, you got to pay him the big contract. Probably, as you said, you're going to change the market for linebackers. I mean, that's asking for a lot. I mean, we've seen that at different positions like safety where, the Seattle Seahawks went out and they got a guy like Jamal Adams. I don't think it's going to cost the Cardinals, a couple firsts like it did for Jamal Adams, but this is the caliber of player that can change this defense. It can
Correct.
Change the perception of this defense, and not only the perception, but just how they would play in 2022, how things would get done, how they could get the ball back into the hands realistically of their quarterback in this offense, Kyler Murray. So it's tantalizing, but it would be a steep asking price for Roquan Smith to come to the Arizona Cardinals. But probably once you get down to it, gun to your head situation, you probably pull the trigger on that one.
Look, we need a dog in the house.
That's right.
We need a dog in the house. We need a dog on defense. Roquan is that. You got
Frank knows about those Southern boys. Alabama, Georgia, Auburn.
But
We don't have enough of those guys.
The cool thing about it, JV, he's proven it once. I mean, he's gotten the league and he's proven it that what I did in college, I bring to the pros. And this, this is not a one-lick wonder. He's proven that. The conversation we're having is that he doesn't want to be with the Bears only because they don't want to pay him what he's valued at. And that's the sad part of a team that's wanting to rebuild, but forgetting the fact that you need veteran leadership and you need some guys with a little bit of animosity, the guys that know how to go out and get it done, guys that will rally these guys around each other in the third and fourth quarter. If a team on offense is on a 14-play drive, they get down to the 4-yard line, and then the defense stands up and holds an offense from scoring. That's priceless. You can't pay for that. That's what you need. You hope you can draft guys like that. Steve Keim, we need that. Like literally, we got one beast of an old gray dog, and that's JJ. And outside of that, we got young guys we're relying on. But after that, we got to go to the secondary. Shit, by that time, we're first and third, and then we're second and fourth. That's terrible. We need some guys that can fill holes, get guys excited about butting guys up and changing our defensive culture, but not from the secondary position. Guys that can get in that grunt position, and Roquan is that guy.
Well, to get the best opinion on all things Chicago Bears, Roquan Smith, we are fortunate to be joined by CHGO Sports Head of Content. He's the host of the CHGO Sports Podcast. Kavin Kaduk is joining us. Kevin, thanks so much for hopping on. Listen, we're at a fever frenzy here with Roquan because we've been searching for an inside linebacker since Steve Keim became the GM in 2013. The Bears, let's be honest, they don't have a ton, but they do have Roquan. Is this a move that you feel like ownership may sniff around a la Khalil Mack, or they still view him as a cornerstone player?
Yeah, I don't want to rain on your parade too much here, guys, because I know you would love a player like Roquan who could go sideline to sideline and does so many things and is athletic. And there's not a lot of players like him in the NFL, and I think he knows that. Roquan is someone who actually represents himself. He doesn't have an agent. If you watch the CHGO Bears today, the guys were talking about how does this even happen? Because when you talk about trading, especially this close to the season, it's the sort of thing where, when Khalil Mack was traded to the Bears, the Raiders gave his agent their blessing to work something out with the Bears, right, ahead of time before that trade was consummated. If Roquan Smith is his own agent, exactly how does that all go down? I have no idea, right? So we woke up this morning. I think it was kind of a surprise to see that news. And I think everyone in Chicago is really just kind of taking it as kind of a really weird negotiating tactic. They had their family fest today at Soldier Field.
Man.
And he was on the sidelines. And it doesn't really seem like the whole thing is just kind of honestly weird because he is their best player on their team. He is a foundational piece. But at the same time, he's an inside linebacker. Ryan Poles is coming in here. Does he really want to, allocate a lot of the money that he has right now to an inside linebacker? That's not something you really do in the NFL right now. He has his vision. So I think, it's August 9th right now. They're really going to take their time and see how this plays out because he doesn't have to be on the field for another 4.5 weeks.
Kevin, based upon the tweet that he put out, and the names that he used as he walks down the hallways, and the Mike Singletaries and the Urlachers and the Khalil Macks and the guys of Singletaries, and he used those names specifically, saying, "This is a dream job for me. I'm basically replacing legends, and I want to be a part of that. And I want to keep that."
Right.
The new attitude right now, the kids are using Twitter. They're using Twitter right now to negotiate and to cause that public frenzy that's out there right now. I agree. You asked the question, how does that work if he's himself? But do you think Twitter will still have an effect in regards to keeping him there or not keeping him there?
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously using his leverage. This is a Bears team that doesn't have stars. Justin Fields is a star in name, but he hasn't been a star in play yet. Darnell Mooney is kind of half the way there. It's Roquan Smith and nobody else. So I think he understands that. But when you're involved in your own negotiations, they can be very personal. The reason that agents get paid is they're the middlemen and they understand what the market is and what's available and what you can get. Now you have to give up a chunk of that money, right? You never want to do that. But I think in this case, he might find out because he's asking for the moon. He thinks he's worth everything. And if Ryan Poles is like, hey, look, we really want you, but not at that price.
You've watched him. Do you think he's at that moment? Do you think he's the future of that defense where he can control what takes place on the defensive side and allow the offense to come in and then become what they're supposed to be, as the Chicago Bears history has always been?
Look, Matt Eberflus really wants people who are high energy, who hit, who cause turnovers. And I would think Roquan fits that mold. But again, at what price? They have so many different things that they need to afford. They need a top-end wide receiver. They need offensive line help. The shopping list is so long. And then, okay, let's say Justin Fields actually works out, and you're going to owe him a Kyler Murray contract down the road. Do you really want to be in a position where now, 5 years from now, you owe that much money to a 30-year-old Roquan Smith? I'm not sure.
But isn't it now, Kevin, the time to pay those guys? You want to go kind of free agency shopping and reward your own. The Bears have almost $100 million in cap space in 2023 via overthecap.com. I would make an argument like, I'm not paying anybody. And I've got a quarterback who isn't making any money, even though right now, like Justin Fields is like a top 7 paid player on the Bears, which is crazy to me. I would think this is a no-brainer. What do you think that contract, the message it sent to Roquan, basically like, we heard Ian Rappaport report today, like it was not a favorable deal at all.
Right. It's really kind of interesting. We don't know the Bears side of this, right? I mean, Ryan Poles seemed very upset. He actually came out after Family Fest, unannounced press conference, to kind of share his side of the story. We're sitting here and wondering, why didn't the Bears go out and spend money at the wide receiver position? Why haven't they spent more money on offensive line? But I think Ryan Poles really wanted to get in and have the lay of the land before he went on that shopping spree. And he's trying to sell Chicago on that. We'll see how patient any of us actually are after these first few games. I don't disagree with it. I don't think you should spend money just for the sake of spending money. I would think Roquan I don't want to give up the farm for him. I don't want to hamstring the future of the franchise for him, but he is definitely worth a fair and he's worth being paid like one of the top 10 linebackers in the league, I think.
Kevin's showing us, if you're watching on YouTube, why Chicago is the best summer city in the world right now. He's sitting outside. We couldn't even imagine sitting outside right now without our skin melting here in Phoenix, Kevin. But let's put our GM hat on. I'll play Steve Keim. You can be Ryan Poles. We've got a first round linebacker in Zaven Collins. He plays middle linebacker. We've got a left tackle in the waiting and Josh Jones. He was former 3rd round pick, 72nd overall a couple years ago, Johnny. And maybe a 3rd round pick. Is that enough to get Roquan Smith off the Bears' hands?
I'm so terrible at the NFL trade machinations. I do like bodies. I mean, I don't know exactly how much they can get for him. I don't think they'd get a Khalil Mack type package for him because he's not an edge rusher, right? And he's an inside linebacker that's not valued. If I'm Ryan Poles, would I take that?
I'll send the paperwork over right now. Let's do it.
I still probably wouldn't. I think Poles is in a tough position because he has not had the best first off season. He signed Larry Ogunjobi. Ogunjobi fails the physical. That doesn't come through. He signed a couple of guys who have got into off the field problems, Byron Pringle and David Moore. So he kind of needs a win. He can't take a loss like letting Roquan walk. So I think when you're talking about that sort of package, I just don't see that really being able to get it done. And I don't think it's his intention. Now, let me ask you this. Are you guys willing to commit the money to Roquan to bring him in?
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys have that?
Steve Keim has been committed to finding an impact inside linebacker for almost 10 years. And he has had some misses. He has had some universal busts. Kevin Mitchell, Dayon Buchanan, Isaiah Simmons, who's now playing safety. Zaven Collins doesn't call the defense. I call BS on everybody who thinks that there's no traction to this if he became available, because Steve Keim, Cards GM, has a type, and I think they would at least try to entertain the phone call here. My trade offer, and then we'll let you go, Kevin, because we're playing speculatory bullshit here. I would.
That's what we do.
Eddie Jackson has not worked out on this new contract, right? I would say the Cardinals have a surplus of one thing, and it's the safety position. They're going to play Isaiah Simmons there. Jalen Thompson is going to be one of their captains of their defense. He's cheap. I would ship Jalen Thompson, who, by the way, last December had a pick against Chicago.
Outside the complex right now.
We have to give something to get. You have to give something to get something. I'm sorry. I'm trying to free up a spot for Isaiah Simmons.
Wow, Johnny. JT.
This is how you do business, guys. You guys clearly don't know how to do business. I would also entertain.
Never in my office. You're fired.
I would entertain Jalen Thompson and then the Big Ten darling Rondell Moore at receiver.
Oh, I was going to say.
You would give Ron Dizzle?
And that comp third. You take your two surpluses, receiver
I'm out of here.
Safety. See, I am a friend of CHGO. I am of even mind because I know how these things go. But in all seriousness, Kevin, as Bo Brock walks off the set, Kavin Kaduk, CHGO Sports, head of content, the host of CHGO Sports Podcast. Thank you so much, Kevin.
All right, guys. Take it easy.
Thanks, brother.
I'm sorry. Do you not understand how trades work? You have to give up something to get something.
Oh, you gave up. You gave up.
Hear me out. Then we're going to do some reads. Listen, let me talk for 2 seconds about this because I thought all afternoon about this. Okay. My initial offer was going to be centered around Jalen Thompson because Eddie Jackson is not playing well. Jalen Thompson makes no money. You can then see Isaiah Simmons come to fruition here, reach his full potential starting next to Budda Baker. Then you don't have to give up Zaven and you can play him next to Roquan. I'm sorry. I'm living in reality right now. I'm trying to get Isaiah 100% playing time at a position that fits him. And I'm skeptical of Vance Joseph being able to utilize 3 safeties all season. I just am.
We don't even know if he can play safety in the NFL. Like, it's cute you doing it in practice.
Well, we got to find out. We got to find out.
Man, we saw him the first year when he came and they said he was a safety and he was getting
I love Jalen Thompson. And it's a compliment to Jalen that I think he could be traded as a 5th round supplemental pick in a package surrounding Roquan Smith. That's a compliment to Jalen.
You weaken the secondary even more. Like,
no, you don't.
The secondary that's already basically it's in shambles. And you want to trade JT, who would actually, you could probably get for way cheaper than what Roquan Smith is going to fetch when you bring him over. So go through that package one more time, just one more time. So I am not including Jalen and Rondell. That initially was not my thought process. Kevin was swaying me because they need receivers. I get that. I like your idea of Jalen Thompson, Josh Jones, who's a starter right now. Don't say my idea and say Jalen Thompson because that's not my idea.
No,
Josh Jones.
You're right. Jalen Thompson. Your idea was Josh Jones. Yep. I would go Jalen Thompson. That's the centerpiece. Again, look, December 5th last year, he lit up the Bears, elite safety. Isn't making any money. Eddie Jackson's been a disaster. They need everything. Give him Jalen Thompson. You have to give up something, guys. Good hell.
Johnny,
Number 2, I would give him Josh Jones, who could play left tackle for them this year. Kelvin Beachum, just re-sign him. He wants to keep playing. And I would give them a conditional 3rd round pick. Roquan Smith.
Johnny, you sound like me, and the chat is definitely agreeing.
I am trying.
You sound like me on a rant on some crazy. No, you sound realistically
we have been spoiled by Steve Keim and these trade packages, securing the likes of DeAndre Hopkins and Chandler Jones for 70 cents on the dollar. You have to give up good players to get good players. The Cardinals have one surplus.
Yeah,
it's safety.
I just don't see the value in trading, giving away that many. Yeah, and this is like it's a proven commodity as far as Jalen Thompson. You're not sending
Roquan's proven though.
Yeah, but the team in the Chicago Bears is not a team that's looking for proven commodities. They're looking for potential, and that's why I think that you could get away with, sending the likes of a Zaven and a Josh Jones. I know it's punting on your first 2 picks of the 2020 draft, but they have the ability, they have the luxury of playing those guys.
I understand that. Here's my only pushback to that. You're going to pay Jalen Thompson after this year, fine. You're paying Budda Baker. What the fuck do you do with Isaiah Simmons then? If he pops, you're going to pay 3 safeties. You guys just talked to me about positional value. I'm trying to spread it out a little bit.
I don't
can't pay 3 safeties.
I do not consider Isaiah Simmons a safety. So that's the difference in this conversation. JT is proven. JT
is
a
secondary player. He plays in the secondary.
JT, he's doing it now. JT is proven. Remember, this kid only played 1 year of high school football. And then he went, then he got to Clemson. This is Isaiah got to Clemson and didn't play much. He played 2 years and that was limited roles. Then we thought,
if I would have put Isaiah in that package instead of Jalen, everybody's yelling me about putting Isaiah in there. I'm trying to be fiscally responsible and not put in all the monies at safety. I'm trying to spread it down. I'm trying to go all the way toward the line of scrimmage here.
I just don't think the Bears have that much leverage. I mean, this guy came out and laid it all out there. He said that he's pretty much given him every chance possible, and against his best wishes, he needs to force his way out of town. I know what Ryan Poles said today, according to Ian Rappaport. He said, they want him a part of this team, but that was just them grasping and trying to create any leverage at this point. I don't think the Bears have that much leverage for a guy who's at a non-premium position that's going to command, market-changing money. The Bears don't have that much to bargain with. So if we're throwing in guys like Jalen Thompson and guys that are proven players at the NFL level, I just don't think.
But then what are you doing?
You're
just giving picks then? More picks toward the inside linebacker position that you've already used back-to-back first-round picks on?
But here's where that plays into it. That guys, the two picks that you've utilized at this point, it's pretty much conceding that they didn't work out. They didn't work out. You're doing what Steve Keim has essentially done his entire career. Is he's tried it in the draft, he's failed, and then he was able to make up for it through trades. That would just be a very uncharacteristic trade from Steve Keim, because it would be viewed as either a loss or maybe even. I mean, that's not Steve Keim's bag as far as trading. I know you're trying to be realistic. I know you're trying not to get your mentions blown up by Bears fans saying that you're crazy for anything less than that, but they have to be realistic where they are. I mean, I just don't see that's too much in my opinion.
Too much in the sense that I would give Steve Keim credit. It's a coup to flip a day 3 supplemental draft pick for a once upon a time top 10 draft pick. That's good GMing. That's how you operate. The Cardinals do not. It's a front 7 game. I love all the safeties the Cardinals have. They're great. I want them to go trade for a corner, sign a corner. Frank Sanders, this. The game is won up front at the line of scrimmage. Name me 3 players from the San Francisco 49ers dog shit secondary or the LA Rams. The LA Rams are starting Eric Weddle and they're winning Super Bowls. The Cardinals front 7 is not good enough. And to come in and get an ass kicker for the next half decade in the form of Carlos Dansby, that's when the Cardinals defense was at its best, the most physical, when they had 58 in the lineup. They do not have that person right now, we don't think, unless Zaven can turn into that person. Isaiah, everybody in the chat, everything that we've seen, he's playing in the back 7, right? He's not a downhill attacking linebacker penetrating the line of scrimmage. I do not want to be pushed around by teams anymore. And you have 3 safeties in your back end. That does not help you against the run. That does not help pressure quarterbacks conventionally. You have to try to get to 3rd down and make it 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12. I don't want more of the same, please.
Johnny, I hear what you're saying. The only thing I would say from a GM standpoint, this would only be a coup to flip, using your term, if Steve Keim gave nothing away like he's been doing in the past, which is maybe a 5th round or a 6th round pick. Well, I got to say that just in case, because again, you got a player who's expressing he wants out anyway, and so it might not require a whole bunch if it gets to that point, and so that would be nice to have. What we've had in the past is some linebackers that have. Look, one just mentioned in the chat, Carlos Dansby was a surprise, a steal, and that's about the best steal we've gotten away with.
They can't draft the position anymore. He can't draft the position, and he has a new 6-year contract. Just like the wide receiver position, he punted on that. He acquired DeAndre Hopkins. He acquired Hollywood Brown. This is the same form of let's stop trying at what we can't do and go out and get a proven commodity. Nobody bitched when those trades went down. But this is in the same realm of that, at a position that I would argue he uses more resources on. I
would argue that I bitched, but you talked me out of it.
Okay.
Like you're trying right now.
I got to do a DraftKings read. You can't bet on this trade. You can't bet on yet Roquan Smith's future team as emotions are running high here, and you flipping love to see it. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code PHNX. Make your first deposit. Get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. You can also bet on the Chiefs and Clyde Edwards-Helaire to run over the Cardinals week 1 because they don't have an inside linebacker of note. That's promo code PHNX, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
It really sounds like Johnny Venerable had a liquid lunch today. He just went to Four Peaks and he just pounded a couple pints of Kilt Lifter or some Joy Bus, which, I don't say that's the wrong thing to do, but just the way he's speaking about what do you got there?
Got that hazy.
He's got the hazy IPA. All right.
I'm drinking the hazy IPA, but gentlemen, my eyes have never been clear. I've never thought clearer than I am right now.
You want to feel as crystal clear as Johnny V? Well, you've got to go over to Four Peaks Brewery. We're just ecstatic to be partner with them. We've actually got the Toast of the Month sweepstakes currently going on right now. You can win yourself a $50 Four Peaks gift card along with a PHNX shirt of your choice and an annual PHNX membership. Just go to PHNX.com or go to GoPHNX.com because that's our damn website. GoPHNX.com. Click on the link. Also in the show notes, you must be 21 years or older. You must be 21 to enjoy it responsibly as well. Let's get into the actual team here. Let's not speculate about some deals that could be on the horizon.
I'm tired of being yelled at.
Yeah, let's talk about Friday. We've actually got a damn game in Cincinnati. The Arizona Cardinals will visit the Bengals. Probably will not see Joe Burrow or anybody of note for the Bengals, and we also won't see anybody of note for the Arizona Cardinals. Cliff Kingsbury broke down where the quarterback room or where the quarterback depth chart is going to look like come Friday night.
Trace will start the game and get a bunch of reps, and has done a really nice job when he comes in there. I like how he plays, got some swagger, got some moxie, and moves around and extends plays, so I'm excited to watch him play. Kyler won't play much, if at all, and then we'll see how Colt's arm progresses. We'll be smart with him, but Friday night will just be Trace and Jarrett. Yeah, Trey, talented player, just has been kind of banged up right now, so we got to get him going. I thought he started camp really well, and then he had some back tightness that we're working through, but he's got a chance to have a great role if we can get him back out there.
The end of that was Trey McBride. As far as the tight end, he was out of practice today, but most of that was Trace McSorley will be QB1 come Friday. No Kyler, no Colt McCoy, who's going through what they call arm maintenance. As far as his
arm maintenance, get that fake out of here. Arm maintenance,
and then you got QB4, and who's going to see some snaps come Friday for the Arizona Cardinals as well. But mixed in there. Cliff just said. We're not going to see Kyler for sure on Friday, and we most likely won't see him the rest of the preseason. Anybody have any problem with that?
I do. Well,
I want to say, I'm about that Trace life. I'm about that Trace McSorley life. I think he needs to rep 100%. Of course, I've said before, I thought that he's an equal in a lot of areas of what Kyler is when it comes to athleticism, arm ability, and the ability, to continually keep the play going. That's definitely on the table when it comes to me. I'm glad that he is getting the reps. Of course, as a former player, I will say this here. I was sharing with Bo earlier that anything we do in the offseason, getting ready to go into the real season, we train twice as hard in the offseason as if we're going to the Super Bowl. And then when we come to camp, we're watching these guys and they look like they're training for preseason. And that's the sad part about it, because a lot of guys aren't playing. And that to me is disappointing, because the only way you're going to build your team is to have your team in real game life situations and getting the reps that you need to get the reps with. And right now, not having Kyler play, not having a bunch of the starters play in the preseason game number 1 is very disappointing to me. I understand it's a long season on the back end of this conversation, but to me, in reality, you got to win the first. You got to win. You got to get your team going. You got to get some rhythm. You got to get some continuity. You got to find out what guys are able to do. And again, the first preseason game out of the starters, they might see 12 plays. They might see 15. It depends on the length of the drive, and there's no reason for these guys not to be able to play.
I have no life, so I looked up preseason numbers from last year, and Kyler Murray had 3 possessions in one game against Kansas City and had one completion for 2 yards. I do not need to see Kyler Murray. He went out against Tennessee and lit up the Titans week 1 on basically cold turkey against live NFL competition. Just button up K1 for September 11th. That's all I need to see. I don't care. I don't need my quarterback taking a shot for no reason. My only concern with Frank's boy, Trace McSorley, as it relates to some of these young receivers that we're looking forward to seeing, Greg Dortch and company, is something coincidentally that Frank Sanders was very accustomed to seeing in Arizona, and that's the dreaded hospital ball. I'm afraid Trace McSorley, hospital balls coming their way for Greg Dortch and, God forbid, Andy Isabella now. I want those guys healthy for the season. Let's say Rondell's out there and he gets his head blown up because Trace is inaccurate. That's my only concern. And if, God forbid, if he ever does something like that to my sweet baby Trey McBride, I'm going to be super pissed off. But Trace McSorley probably lends himself better to preseason action. He's much more mobile than Colt. Again, Colt McCoy, he is what it is. He went cold the entire year last year and then won 2 out of 3, including 2 divisional road games. Totally fine with that. I do not care. I don't want to see any of these star players in the preseason. The best franchises don't do it. You get buttoned up for when the games start to matter. But I'm very much looking forward, Bo Brock, into seeing how a lot of these positional battles shake out. I know people in the chat, we want to see Eno Benjamin. I don't know if Eno Benjamin's RB2, maybe they put Eno on ice till September 11th.
Yeah, and Eno Benjamin spoke to the media today, and you have to be encouraged by just where his confidence level is. We heard from Eno. Here's what the former ASU standout said.
I would say my confidence is through the roof. It's year 3. I felt like a lot more has slowed down for me, and just getting on the field to get those opportunities definitely builds that confidence as well.
To Frank's point, I mean, that's one of those guys that is preparing to be a starter. He's not just preparing, it's not a preseason outlook for him ever. And it seems like that's where it's got him. There's a clip that they talked about today around the facility. It was Cliff Kingsbury saying, "I'm not making the mistake again of not trusting Eno." Pretty much, I'm paraphrasing, but pretty much it's there. I don't know if it was part of flight plan, but he's done overlooking Eno Benjamin at this point. And when you look at the void left by Chase Edmonds was fantastic as far as his yards per carry. We know what he did in the receiving game, and we know that Darrell Williams could probably match that. But Eno Benjamin has the ability to do that on the ground, and I think Cliff Kingsbury is going to give him that opportunity. And, I think you're right, Johnny. We probably won't even see a big mix of Eno. I think we know who the top 3 running backs on this team are. It's James Conner, who looks unbelievable. I mean, James Conner, a guy who's already in great shape, is in the best shape of his career. We know that he needs to be on a limited snap count at every point this season to be the peak Conner that they need. And then you got Darrell Williams, the receiving back, and then Eno Benjamin's probably your main, chunk yardage running back. And then there's going to be a big battle for who are the next backs after that. Is it Jonathan Ward? Is it Keontae Ingram? That's going to be the battle that's going to be on display starting Friday.
With all due respect to ESPN's Josh Weinfuss, who tweeted out he believes the top 4 positions are set, including Jonathan Ward at RB4. I strongly disagree. I think that would be an egregious mistake, Frank Sanders, to go with somebody like Jonathan Ward, who clearly has a ceiling, over somebody like Keontae Ingram, who maybe today, and I know we talked about it, Bo, doesn't have the special team prowess today. But I think if you needed him to tote the rock a couple times in a game with his ceiling, USC, Texas, I mean, you just can't teach his ability. You watch him in practice, huge physical presence. I think that he has an opportunity here to put that running back group on notice. I think it's low-key become one of their deepest positions. I love how they built that group. Cheap labor. James Conner's after 2 years is making no money. Right. That to me, that's the most forward-thinking position group the Cardinals have had. And then they put all their resources in the weaponry of Kyler Murray. I love what I'm seeing from Eno Benjamin, Frank Sanders, and I think it would be special for him. I mean, listen, everything that I'm reading is he's going to be the handcuff for James Conner. That's pretty cool for somebody that went to ASU.
Look, when you watch him, you automatically know you see talent. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, what you're watching when you see him practice, you see hunger. Like, this guy's hungry. He wants to play. He's not. He understands who JC is, and everyone does, because he's proven himself. He came in the league, and James Conner was hungry. He was sitting behind the double B over in Pittsburgh, Le'Veon Bell. And so when he got his chance, he took advantage of it and he started sparking. This is the same thing. JC comes here, got some young hungry guys behind him. I think, look, the sky's the limit for him. This is an offense that does not necessarily has the prowess or has stated itself as being a running team. So for us to have the weapons we have in our in our running back is I'm pretty excited about it. I think you said something last week, Johnny, that was pretty on point about, Ingram and Williams, and just describing if we put Ingram on the practice squad, more than likely it's going to be a good chance he probably won't be there based upon the ability to pick him up. And I think that's the part where they have to use wisdom. Apparently right now, this is a different mentality than I'm used to as a football player, which is we're going to set out our starters and wait until the regular season comes out without no practice and play. If Steve Keim is Johnny Venerable or he's Cliff Kingsbury sitting there telling me I'm not playing my starters because I want them on week 1, that's an anomaly. That blows my mind. But if that's the new mentality, and we got to see what we have in our second guys and our third guys, then I guess I'm going to have to say I'm okay with that, because you still need to see what kind of team you have when guys go down. And that was a problem last year. When guys went down, we were not the same team. And we have to make sure we find those guys that can make plays.
I think as far as running back rooms go, and I saw in the chat, we have to put it back up there saying that Connor is the only proven commodity. It's not necessarily true. Darrell Williams had 1,000 scrimmage yards last year, and he was as far as being able to pound the rock into the end zone, something that Chase Edmonds hasn't been known for in his career. Darrell Williams gives that, plus the ability to catch the football at the backfield. I think he is a proven commodity. Guy's got a Super Bowl ring to prove it, and then you can't have too many proven commodities, because we know that the NFL is not, if you start building a roster based on past work, you're going to probably fall short more often than not, because you need to also pick up on guys where you trust your scouts and guys that are ready to pop. And in year 3, Benjamin just kind of fits that profile to where he can be the guy, and especially in maybe more of a zone run scheme, to get outside, the tackles and get some chunk yardage like Chase Edmonds did. I don't expect to really get many red zone carries. I think it's going to be the RB1 and RB2 Connor and Darrell Williams, but he's got a role. He's going to have a role, and then the rest has got to figure itself out in preseason. Then we talk about, it's not getting talked about enough, just the playmakers outside of that running back room. Cliff was talking about it today with the wide receivers. When they get back up to full strength, you'd be hard pressed to find receivers like this. This is what Cliff had to say about his 4 top wide receivers.
You want to see it, but we know what it is. I've seen it at times. That's a tremendous group. We had them out there in quick game. Just those 4 receivers without Ertz, and it's a special group of wideouts. So I think we know what's coming. We just got to keep progressing, and over the next couple weeks, we'll have everybody out there.
You've got DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, Rondale Moore. You got to check PHNX_Cardinals on Twitter for Rondale Moore, just putting up some sweet catches. And then you got AJ Green, who looks fresh. This, obviously this season. I know 34 years old. That's not going to last the marathon of 17.
But a wide receiver 4, I'm more than fine with that. It was when we were sold the idea that he was going to be number 2 to Hopkins, and it didn't last the duration of the season. Hopkins went down and he was exposed a little bit, right? I think you're in a much better position with him on a pitch count, especially in the red zone. I think he can utilize his size that the Cardinals really don't have outside of AJ Green, especially with Antoine Wesley being banged up. Let me ask you this, Bo Brock, because I want to believe Greg Dortch is going to translate his preseason training camp phenomenon into the regular season. But we talked about Keyshawn Johnson on Saturday about the former Cardinal lighting up Niner camp last year and then didn't translate, right? Do you think that this is real? This is his 3rd year in the NFL, undrafted, right? Didn't play at a huge school, Wake Forest, but just has tools that right now are on showcase. I read a tweet this morning that he jumped over Jalen Thompson and he burned past Budda Baker for a long touchdown. Like that catches my attention. Then when we're out of practice, all he does is catch bombs. Is he somebody that, like, throughout the duration of the season is going to help this offense, or is this just, are we being teased with this and he'll be regulated special teams duties once the year begins?
You should temper your expectations. It seems like every training camp you have these darlings, right? These guys that pop, they flash, and they're making the spectacular look just regular for a guy like Dortch. And, there's guys with similar profiles, Andy Isabella and Victor Bolden Jr., and Dortch just separated himself from that group. Like he's the guy, even with an injured Antoine Wesley, who's probably going to crack this roster regardless, and the rest are going to have to, get into a dogfight for the other spots. But no, I think he's going to be a guy that's going to contribute. They're going to find ways, kind of like rookie Rondale Moore looked like last year, where they're going to put the ball in his hands. Is it going to be like a wide receiver reverse? Is it going to be gadget plays? Is it going to be out of the backfield? It's going to be, especially in punt returns, kick returns. He's going to get opportunities. He's not going to get, the traditional wide receiver looks, targets and stuff. He might get like 1, 2, 3 targets a game.
Mm-hmm.
But, if he can make one spectacular play to move the chains or get 6, I think that he's got the skill set to do that. I mean, I wouldn't stash him on your fantasy team, but he's a good player. I mean, I think he's a guy that can contribute on a roster. I mean, to be able to just crack this wide receiver room in general,
it's commendable.
It is very commendable. Yep. Absolutely.
Look, you got names and you got expectations. And definitely when you look at AJ Green or you look at D Hops, and then you have to actually realize that the limited opportunities that you will have it's not many. And you got to come out and prove yourself. If he's doing it against our defense and the number one defensive guys, they know exactly who he is. They know exactly what he's bringing to the table. And if he's doing it exactly how D Hops will be doing, catching bombs, making great catches, one-hand catches, or he's catching the ball with his hands mostly, and then he's explosive after the play, everyone is paying attention. They know exactly what he brings to the table. The question is, when the lights come on, will he be that guy? And that will be that's the chance that we're taking right now. When the lights come on, what kind of guy is he at that moment?
We only have a sample size with Dortch, and it was Dallas. And I feel like that he answered in that game early on. He had a couple big plays for this team. And, if you can get that more on a more regular basis each and every week, that's huge for this team, because you don't need much more of it. Because as Cliff said, it's like you're not counting Ertz in that. You're not counting Trey McBride. That is an embarrassment of riches that's being slept on. And, the guy who's going to be able to do it's probably the most talented player on the field, and that's Kyler Murray.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll be able to check out the depth chart if you haven't seen it here in our last segment for the Arizona Cardinals, the depth chart that was released by the team with a kind of a funny twist on it ahead of Cincinnati on Friday. Before we get to that, I want to remind everybody COVID-19 vaccines are free for everybody 5 and older. I have mine. Go get yours so we can hang out this fall at all of our fantastic events, tailgates, bar scenes, so much good stuff. But you got to get your vaccine so we can enjoy it together and beat this thing long term. Those 12 and older are also eligible for a booster shot. Again, they are for free, and you can get them right now by scheduling azhealth.gov/find vaccine on the web for a location nearest to you.
I've got more free stuff to talk about. And I'm talking about OGs giving you an opportunity, and PHNX, of course, an opportunity to win our Flavoring Life sweepstakes. One winner will receive 3. That's right. 3 bags of OG's orange creamsicle gummy, or any of the other tropical flavors. Look at Frank's ready to get in the game. He's ready to put on his helmet and throw back some OGs. You can win this as well as a hat from PHNX, shirt of your choice, and a PHNX annual membership. All you have to do is sign up. Go to gophnx.com. Click on the link on the show notes as well. It's the easiest way to find it. Check out OGs online at ogsbrands.com. That's ogsbrands.com, or on Instagram at OGs. Frank, you must be 21 years or older to purchase, and you can find their products in your local dispensary. Johnny?
Frank Sanders is trying to crack the depth chart for the Arizona Cardinals. He's going to have a tough time, as much as I love Frank and his skills at receiver, because this group is loaded. If you haven't seen it, here it is. The first unofficial depth chart based, quote unquote, on participation in the first preseason game and Cincinnati. So if you're waiting for that coveted depth chart ahead of against Kansas City, September 11th, you're not going to get it. Here's what you got for our audio only pods. Listeners, the skill players look like this. Benjamin, Colt McCoy are your battery in the backfield. Then we've got Greg Dortch and Steven Anderson as the top wide receiver tight end combo. Victor Bolden, Andy Isabella rounding out that receiving core. We've got our guy Josh Jones. I think it's interesting, gentlemen. Josh Jones staying at right tackle with Josh Miles, Bo Brock at left tackle. That, to me, kind of signifies probably Josh Jones. They're looking at him as the heir apparent to Kelvin Beachum in a year. Sean Harlow's going to play center, which I love to see. Your initial thoughts, gentlemen, on the offensive depth chart for Cincinnati based on who's going to play.
It's going to be a big preseason. I'm calling it right now for Andy Isabella. People are, Don't
you dare.
We're already past fool me once, fool me twice. We're way down that list.
Okay.
Nobody's going to believe in Andy Isabella, but I think he's poised for a big preseason. He's been making big play after big play at practice, mostly with the second team, but he's the third wide receiver here on the starting depth chart. You can scratch Colt McCoy. We know that's going to be Trace McSorley. He slides up. Benjamin being ahead of Darrell Williams is interesting. Jonathan Ward is down there, and then Keontae Ingram. I mean, that's going to be the battle, the true battle that's going down on Friday and the rest of the way here. But yeah, I mean, it's what everybody kind of expected. I don't think on the offensive side, Johnny or Frank, I don't see any true surprises there.
My only thought on this here is that depending on, I'm hoping that Cincinnati doesn't play their starters, because this is going to be smashing, butt kicking in the first couple of quarters. If this is our team, and the only reason why I'm saying it is because in truth, you got to look at typically the preseason. If the defense is on, they're the ones that come out blitzing and doing all the stunts and dogs and the twisters, and they're not. They're throwing everything at your offense.
The offense doesn't game plan, right, Frank?
Right. They really don't game plan. We only have like 12 to 14 plays that we'll really work on. But in reality, I agree. I think that I hope they come out and play, and give our guys a good look. And the reason why I say is because, again, Andy Isabella does have speed. Greg Dortch does have speed. And so that does open up for downfield play. Guys are going to try to press them. They're going to think to themselves, this ain't D Hops. This ain't Rondell Moore. This ain't AJ Green.
I don't want to see Rondell either.
I know people want to see down. And know what's going to happen? Touchdown.
I don't want to see Rondell Moore on Friday night. I don't need to see him, because he's going to be wide receiver 2 in week 1 to Hollywood Brown. So I'm glad he doesn't look like he's going to participate. But yeah, I think, gentlemen, to your point, the intrigue starts on the defensive side of the ball as we pull this back up here. The starting defensive line, Michael Dogby, Rashad Lawrence, and Leki Fotu, who are 3 fixtures. Somebody needs to pop from that group in 2022 for this unit to be successful. Looking at the linebacking core, here's something interesting. You've got Zaven Collins, which isn't surprising, but you've got both starting outside linebackers. Well, not Marcus Golden, but Dennis Gardeck and Devon Kennard kind of vying for that spot opposite Golden. We'll see how that goes. And then the secondary, which is just Marco Wilson, Deontay Thompson, Antonio Hamilton, and Charles Washington. Anything stick out, gentlemen, from the defensive side of the ball outside of what I think is going to be an interesting dogfight at linebacker?
Yeah, it's mostly what we've been talking about. We've been kind of following the rise of Myjai Sanders, and you can tell that guy that he was drafted behind, Cameron Thomas, is actually behind him on the depth chart, because it goes with the guys you were mentioning, and then you look down the line as far as who's going to get pass rush attempts, like Victor Dumukeji. Looks like they're doing them respect to him that he's been in this building for at least a season. He's going to get the next reps on the second team, and then you got Myjai, and then you got Cameron Thomas. I think we're, a lot of people should be excited about Myjai Sanders. And I think, that even gets up to the guys who are making decisions, Vance Joseph and Cliff Kingsbury. I hear you on the defensive line. Is it concerning that guys going into this, this late in their career, and Rashard Lawrence and Leki Fotu are getting starts at this point, and then they're not just, saying, hey, take the night off, we'll see your work done second game, third game? Probably, but
it bothers me.
Yeah,
I think there's enough young guys on our defense that needs more reps on these guys, Lucky, than our older guys. Those guys can be guys for a fact. You know what you're going to get from them. They don't need those reps. We got a bunch of young guys on our defense that needs those reps. Zach Allen need those reps. Like he's not a fifth-year starter.
I would play Zach Allen too, Frank Sanders.
They need to play, man. They need reps. They need to work on their craft and their skill sets, and not take it like they're just because you're supposedly on our starting roster that you don't get the reps. You need the reps, and these guys need game time and game film to prove themselves that they're able to do it.
I think that nobody in this front seven should be assured of anything outside of 2 players. J.J. Watt, who, again, does not need to play until September 11th for obvious reasons, and Marcus Golden. Everybody else needs to be out there contributing, logging vital snaps. I don't think Zaven Collins is going to bitch about it, but everybody else needs to go prove their worth so then we can see with our eyes if and when the Cardinals need to make a trade or an upgrade. And Bill Brock, speaking of trades, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. We have made notice of this a couple times before the show. Arizona Sports' John Gambadaro, who friend of the program, has said the Cardinals are looking to trade for a starting corner, which I think makes a lot of sense. We speculated about it earlier this week. the big reason why they're not bringing in the Joe Haydens or, the Xavier Rhodes is maybe they have their eye on a defensive back starter for another team that's fallen out of favor, but we were kind of racking our brain to figure out who the hell that could be.
Yeah, I looked at it. I did some heavy research. And there's a couple guys who would present really tough cap situations for their current team.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe we can just kind of check our notes here, Johnny. I looked at their current team would have to absorb a pretty large hit for it to happen.
The names.
All right, so I'm looking at Shaq Griffin with the Jags.
Okay.
I'm looking at William Jackson III with Washington, Dory Jackson with New York Giants, and then a wild card would be Jeffrey Okudah, the former 3rd overall pick with the Detroit Lions. Anybody showing up on your radar?
Shaq Griffin makes $17 million. He has a $17 million cap hit this year for the Jaguars.
He doesn't make So as far as what he would earn, it wouldn't be that high. But a lot of these guys,
his cap hit's just under $17 million.
Yeah, but who they signed last season and they didn't have that money hit until this season, and some of that comes from bonus money. So they're not. If they get traded, if they get cut, they've got a very, very large cap number. So it kind of takes them out of the running. Yeah,
but they're not getting cut in these scenarios. We're speculating.
Yeah, this is a trade. This would be a trade. Yeah. But it kind of cap sometimes works very similar to a trade or a cut, as far as what that current team is going to absorb dead cap money.
I think the Cardinals in their efforts to gain more money from the Humphreys deal and the Murray deal would be much more susceptible to taking on money than giving away picks. If I'm Steve Keim, keep my premium picks in the middle rounds, give up a day 3 pick, and take on more money. Adoree Jackson makes somewhere around $9 million. Those are some good names. Who's the player you said out of Washington?
William Jackson III, former the Cincinnati, but much like Shaq Griffin, just an absolute disaster as far as trying to figure out the money on that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I was looking at. Because teams they have to appease their fan bases, and it's a tough look if you're trading away starting cornerbacks at this stage in the offseason and going into the regular season. I just don't know. Things would have to go Roquan Smith south. Somebody would have to come out and say, "Hey, trade me." But it's not like they don't exist. We see this all the time. Something happens where a guy becomes unhappy, especially during the dog days of camp, Frank. Yep. Where tempers can run high, and a guy gets frustrated with his current organization because he knows they're going nowhere that season, and an opportunity emerges for a team like the Arizona Cardinals. It just they're just waiting to pounce. I just don't. Are they? It's like the worst kept secret in the world. To report that they want to trade for a cornerback, no.
Well, they have
a shot at Gambo. It's like no shit. Like Cliff Kingsbury's begging basically at the podium.
Why aren't they going out and working these veterans out? Then we talk about Jackrabbit Jenkins.
Yeah,
who had a good year.
Who they signed today? They signed a guy that they were
college free agent from Hawaii. That's not going to make an impact this year. With all due respect, I hope he's a good NFL player. I need somebody week 1 that's going to line up opposite Marco Wilson and
Cortez Davis. You're right.
Yeah, an undrafted rookie. Let's not. I'm sorry, Cortez. Right. We need pros, proven pros.
I will add this to it. I would prefer us to go trade for somebody in the front 7 off the top, because the better you put, the more pressure you put on your quarterback. You don't need great cornerbacks. You need good cornerbacks. If your line is great, you can have good cornerbacks. If your line is terrible, then you damn sure need great cornerbacks. That's just across the board.
Yeah, I think that these corners, that most of them that I brought up are going to be guys that are going to become available before the deadline. Yeah, it's just too hairy of a cap situation for the current team to just say, hey, we're just gonna wear this one in 2022.
Yeah, but can you make it to the deadline with the gauntlet of quarterbacks you face? That's the argument.
No,
I don't think you can.
They have to find stopgap corners. When we pull up the depth chart and you look at it right now, it's Marco Wilson right now, who did have his pads back on today, is limited again coming back from the groin injury, which is encouraging. You see at the other corner spot, it's Antonio Hamilton. Like, do you feel comfortable if Antonio Hamilton is one of your starting corners going into the season? Probably not. Josh Jackson, who's you can be encouragaged and drink the Kool-Aid as much as you want, but is he really going to be able to play significant snaps for you? You got to sign a vet. You do. You either, and that comes even with your trade. If you trade for somebody, because it's shocking
to me. It's shocking to me that we've let it get. And Keim has always done a masterful job. Say what you want about him. July and August, he has feasted off cuts and trades and getting quality players to come in and play roles. But again, Bo brings up a good point that I think is not talked about enough. That was a Bruce Arians mentality because he knew these players. I think there is some, I don't know, uncertainty with Cliff Kingsbury not having a comfort level around the NFL landscape with a bunch of former pros. But then it's like, well, Vance Joseph should have an encyclopedia of guys he's coached that maybe he'd want to bring in, but they have not leveraged that. It's mind-boggling. And every day that goes by, I mean, we're going to see it. Teams are going to start being married to their rosters, even after cuts and guys are fringe players. We're going to get to a point where somebody's not going to be able to make an impact because they haven't been with the team long enough. But we're making an impact every day, gentlemen, here at PHNX Cardinals Live. Check out Bo's work. He's got news and notes from practice today. On Tuesday at gophnx.com. Become a member. 99 cents for the first month, $8.99 for the subsequent month. Check out the PHNX merchandise locker. Pick up one of these fresh lids here. Maybe, Bo Brock, we could get one of these for Cliff Kingsbury's birthday today.
Oh, man. I mean,
43.
He's getting the equivalent of a tie. I mean, Johnny and Frank and I know, if you're a dad, you just get a tie, right? But he got a tie in like an unknown cornerback for his birthday. He's like, Steve Keim's like, do you love it?
Here's a Pac-12 corner. Here you go. Or where's Hawaii play? I don't even know.
It is definitely not the Pac-12. It's in the Pacific Ocean, but
Conference USA corner.
Cortez Davis, huh?
Thank you.
His birthday gift from last February, getting his contract.
Yeah, Cliff's like, I'm getting Berkovici right now. We're going to Scottsdale, and we're gonna go find me a better present than that.
That's probably more telling us that these guys are probably not going to play. Some of our starters are not going to play in the preseason game. They're just not going to play.
You can't risk it. You can't risk it. We risk it every day for you, the fans here. PHNX Cardinals. Everybody do me a hot favor, a hot minute right now. Go and like this video on YouTube so it gets passed around YouTube's algorithm that I'm too dumb to understand. But also, if you have not done this already, I beg of you, subscribe to the PHNX Cardinals podcast. We do this every flipping day, 4 p.m. Get your Cardinal content here. The best place. I say this with all humility. I believe what we do here is unmatched. The content, Emma, Bo, been putting out every day at practice, the highlight videos. You need Arizona Cardinal news, information, entertainment. This is the place, the only place to come. So subscribe, PHNX Cardinals, wherever you get your podcast. Like it. Leave us a 5-star review. We're back tomorrow, aren't we, Bo?
Cliff told Emma and myself today, he's like, truly what I want for my birthday is for listeners to go subscribe to the PHNX Cardinals podcast.
God bless that man.
Leave a 5-star review. Please do it for me, 43 years old, a guy who barely doesn't have a whole lot in this world. He doesn't have a brand new extension. He doesn't have an Instagram model girlfriend. He's not, living out the dream and coaching Kyler Murray. He doesn't have enough yet. Go out there, subscribe, leave that 5-star rating, and leave that review saying that you love watching Frank, Johnny, and myself.
I love Cliff Kingsbury. I love all of you. I love my co-hosts. We're back tomorrow. Mañana. See you then. Peace.